Very few cars will be at 340,000 miles and look like this. This beautiful 97 Tacoma looks like this not because of Toyota's old build quality and everything, because even with that, at this miles, things will start to crumple and look just aged. But this Tacoma basically looks like a brand new truck at 340,000 miles. Not thanks to its build quality, thanks to the owner, the original owner, who truly appreciates it, truly loves it, and takes care of it so well. You will not see many 97 Tacomas out there with this many miles that looks like this. And in today's video, I will show you the level of commitment that this owner has to this truck. He's been collecting parts for it for a very long time, and he did somewhat of a major overhaul to many components that he wants done, including the original suspension in the front and the original clutch on this Tacoma that is a manual transmission with 340,000 miles. Let us check it out right after this. Let's take a tour around this Tacoma in the outside and the inside. With 340,000 miles, everything you see here except this headlight is original. This has not been painted, re-chromed, or redone. All this is original, folks. And that's how you take care of a car. I mean, this thing looks brand new. And you see this headlight does have moisture inside of it, so that's why they replaced this one, and that one's next. This one says Sylvania on it, Sylvana. That's been replaced. This is, everything else is 100% original. I mean, look at this paint. I mean, I don't know, and the owner of this car needs to tell me their secret. I don't know how they manage the rock chips. I mean, this is a lot of miles, but there's not even that. They've been touching it up and properly, taking care of the paint. You wrap around the side, there's not even a single ding, nothing. And that's how you take care of a car. There's absolutely no dings on this car, and it makes my blood pressure go up every time we look at it, because we gotta be careful with a car like this. I mean, this owner has kept this thing immaculate since 1997. So look at it. It just looks beautiful. Even the wheels, they have no rash, no curb rash, nothing. It just looks perfectly fine. The bed is full of parts because this owner, of course, everything we've done to this car, they wanted all their old parts back. They want to examine them, see these control arms, for example. That's the original clutch of this truck. This is an original clutch to this car. It's just unbelievable. Control arms are original, lower control arms. We'll show you that in a bit. He even got like every single bolt, everything. He's been waiting to do this job, finding the right person to do it. He's actually been to our shop multiple times. He flat out told me, I want to get to know you first before you touch my truck. And I completely understand. I mean, when you have a truck that is like this, you will be very nervous. Who works on it? And I truly appreciate them trusting us with this truck. Jeff, huge shout out to you, because he's a truly nice gentleman, and he speaks my language. So one of the things that were really bothering Jeff was these straps. One of them broke. He actually sourced a new original one. That's the original one from the truck, and this is a replacement one. So we got that installed and taken care of. And then let's look at the inside. You will see very few trucks that has 50,000 miles that look like this, let alone 341,000 actually, to be exact. Look at this interior. Look at the carpet, seat. Everything's clean. Look at the pride and joy in taking care of this car at this miles. Jose will get you a small shot of the miles here, because this is, of course, analog miles. 341,000 miles. And would you look at these seats? I mean, they literally look new. Not even a singles, and they're cloth seats. It's nearly impossible not to have one accident, but no, nothing, because that's how you take care of a car. And the best part is, this is a 5-speed manual. It's an R150 transmission with a manual transfer case, and somewhat of a relic. You have this style parking brake, a style that used to be common in old Toyotas. Well, no longer anymore, but This is the old style where to release it, you do this. To engage it, you just pull it. I don't know if you are old enough to remember those. And then the little clock in a horrible location where it's blocked completely by the steering wheel, but it's there. And then the cup holder, which is not broken. These usually are common to break. This one is not broken. Folks, the only thing not original in this interior is the radio. And even that is an old school radio. And look at this headliner. You will not see a lot of trucks that are this clean with this many miles that are typically used. I will tell you one funny story. This is actually a replacement transmission for this truck. And we'll get to that, why that happened. But I'll tell you a funny story here. So this transmission has a core, and the company that supplied this transmission is from California. When I told the owner, well, we have your core ready when you pick up the truck so you can ship it, or do you want us to ship it? He says, ship it? He says, I'll just drive it to California myself. That's the level of commitment of this owner. That's how much he enjoys driving this car all over the country. He's basically gonna, instead of shipping this transmission, which is very expensive, he's gonna use it in gas, enjoy his truck, drive it all the way to California. Now this customer is not from Illinois, from another state. For their privacy, we're not gonna say which state that is, but it's very far. And he's gonna drive it all the way to California to drop it off and get their core charge back. That's the interesting thing. Let's go look under the hood, because to me, this is one of the best engines Toyota ever made. Now the owner is waiting to reach the limit of their new timing belt. So we find the hood release. There we go. They're waiting to reach their new timing belt to do a few things here. We do have a little bit of a valve cover gasket leak. Some of the seals have small leaks, so we're gonna take care of. This is a 5VZ FE. To me, it's one of the best engines Toyota ever made that nobody talks about. Nobody modifies, nobody does anything with it. It's just another Toyota engine, that unsung hero. Folks, this is one of the best engines you'll ever have in a Toyota. The 3VZ before it was just filled with problems. This one just has nothing. And again, look at everything here. Nice, tidy, clean. And no, we did not clean this car. This is how it is when it came in. It's just pride and joy of ownership. This is how you take care of a car, folks. And it is just a beautiful car. We're not gonna get close to it, but you see all the VIN tags here. They're all intact. Everything is original to this car. It's never been in an accident, and we'll pray over this that it never gets in an accident. It's such a beautiful truck. It just drives like a new truck, and now with the new stuff, it's even better. But let's do this. Let's put it on the lift, and I'll actually show you. We had a major complication with this truck that kind of changed the trajectory of the project. And now that it's completed, we can actually show you everything. Let's put it on the lift. Let's talk about it. So the first thing that the owner wanted us to do was go through the front suspension. So they've previously replaced the shocks. They put aftermarket shocks. This truck's slightly lifted. So we started with lower control arms, upper ball joint. That's all been replaced finally since the truck was new. These things have been here. Same thing on the other side. While we were here, this was not something he planned for. The axles. So both of them were ripped. And because it is lifted, he did mention that he's going through a few axles every few years. So we did end up going with aftermarkets. He didn't want to put the originals yet because he might take off this lift kit and then put the originals. He actually has the original axles on hand, but he didn't want to put them. And then the rack and pinion was also 100% original. That did get replaced with new tie rods, outers as well. The lines were all good, so we didn't have any issues there. Then the transmission. One of the shop tour videos, I showed you the transmission briefly. The input shaft got completely chewed up by the pilot bearing. So the pilot bearing was original. It was completely seized. I've never seen a pilot bearing this much seized. It's been making noise, and that's really the reason he accelerated this and chose to go with our shop, and we did the work, because it would make a lot of noise. And the throw-out bearing was not terrible, but it was completely about to go as well. Clutch was actually not bad, and that's the surprise. But the problem with the input shaft is it's gonna be loose, and it did have a little bit of play, so we were gonna have to tear this transmission apart. He did have like grinding in third gear, I believe. So if we were gonna open this transmission to change the bearing for the input shaft and the input shaft, we're gonna want to put synchros. We wanna go through the whole thing. We're not gonna just take this transmission apart, just replace one part, put it all back together. We're gonna at least put all new bearings and new synchros, and then address his grinding noise that he's having in third gear. So by the time I wrote him an estimate, we were talking, he's like, I have been following this other company that rebuilds the this is an R150 transmission, that they rebuild them and they don't have issues. So he ended up actually sending us this transmission. This is a remanufactured transmission by a company in California. I don't recall the name of the company. They seem to do a pretty good job. Now, when you get a new transmission, it actually doesn't come with the bell housing. So the bell housing we swapped. I mean, it's nothing, just a little chunk of aluminum, nothing really special about it. The slave cylinder we did not replace. It's been replaced before, and the master as well, so that stayed exactly the way it is. Transfer case, there's absolutely no issues with the transfer case, works pretty good, so we didn't do anything there. But we ended up putting new pilot bearing, throw-out bearing, new clutch, new transmission. We didn't end up replacing this is something very common on these, where the shifter gets really loose. There's a little seat where the shifter sits and a bushing. Very DIY, very simple to replace. Actually, you can do it inside the car. You don't even have to remove much. But we did replace that, and with that, this transmission literally shifts like a new car. I mean, it is beautiful how well it shifts. Now let's check out the rest of this truck. Look at this frame. Now most of you will say, oh, it's a car from non-Rust Belt. Actually, that's not the case. This does come from a Rust Belt state, and state with a lot of salt and heavy use, but because the owner took care of this car, it did not have any rust. I mean, look at it. This is not some garage queen. No, this is a car that's driven, it has miles. Look at everything. There's a very little hint of surface rust here. He actually mentioned that he wants, once we're done with it, he wants to go over these areas and cover them as well. The car is heavily coated. Look at the body. It's all covered up. All the frame is coated. Everything is coated. And this is somebody that does it himself, spends a really extensive amount of time to protect the truck, make sure everything is 100%. And it is. Look how beautiful everything looks. Another thing we did while we had the transmission out, of course, the drive shaft was out, so we replaced the center support bearing. It was not terrible, had a little bit of play, but nothing excessive. But while we're here, he had one. He brought majority of the parts because some of these parts no longer exist. He's been collecting them for a long time, anticipating some of these parts becoming discontinued, and he was right. They did discontinue a lot of these parts. We go in the back. Here, the leaf springs have been replaced at some point. And the shocks are upgraded shocks. They're aftermarket shocks, and everything in the exhaust looks in order. It is not an original exhaust. This is actually a Borla muffler, but the catalytic converter is original. This actually is a good brand. You could see this pipe is a really high quality pipe. You do have a tiny little leakage when things are cold. That is pretty standard with this style clamp, but what a beautiful truck. Well, look at everything. Looks like a time capsule. Looks like a brand new truck. And the spare tire is actually missing. That's how we got the truck. So I believe the owner, this type of owner, knows where things are at. He actually has the spare tire. He did mention something about it, but this is how you preserve a car. This is, I mean, if I told you this car has 50,000 miles, you probably believe me, because look at everything. But it has 341,000. Everything works on the truck, drives like a new truck, and especially now with this work that we've done to it, I love how this transmission feels. The last thing we did, and this is something that he wanted done, the speedometer cable. So this is, of course, old school. It has an actual cable for the speedometer. Very common for this gear to strip, even though the gear was perfectly fine. We actually saved it for him, so we keep it as a spare because it was healthy. We put a new gear here. We put a new speedometer cable because the cable, he mentioned when it was hot, and I remember he visited us twice before he deciding to chose our shop, and we did this job. One of the times he came in the summer when it's really hot, this cable starts making like a squealing noise at a specific speed, like right around 50 miles an hour. It starts to squeal, then it goes away, then it comes back. It was actually, we diagnosed it as a speedo cable. I, at the time, told him we can take it apart, we try to lubricate it, but I didn't promise a high success rate because some of these cables are really difficult to get them greased all the way through. So he says, well, I actually have a new one, but I know they're still available. So if you can get me one, I'll just keep the one I have for a spare because I know these eventually will be discontinued. And he's right, because we had a really hard time to get the one that is on the truck right now. And then after that, there was no more. So the only thing that's missing here is the covers. He actually painted them and brought them with the truck, off the truck, because he was going about painting some stuff and coating everything because he wants to coat the suspension. I'm going to put the covers back. That's what we wanted to present him the truck complete. He will probably, the minute he gets home, he will take them off and start coating at this, especially after he sees this video. What a beautiful truck to work on. It is an absolute pleasure to work on a truck like this. It's taken care of. It's in pristine condition, and the owner truly appreciates it. I just love trucks like this. And a huge shout out to you, Jeff, for such a beautiful truck. And for us here at TCCN Automotive, thank you so much for trusting us with your truck. I can see why it is hard for you to trust anyone with working on this truck for the things that you cannot do yourself, because I mean, look at it. It's just beautiful. And the last thing I'll show you, we'll bring the truck down, is we have a little situation with the antenna. Let me bring it down, we'll talk about it, and we'll wrap up this video. So the last thing we did was with the antenna. This is an SR5 model, and it was an option in the day to have a power antenna. And this one actually had that option. You notice it's unfortunately gone. Well, the problem was the antenna mast itself started sticking and it wouldn't go up and down. And the way these antennas work, and I can actually find it for you to see it. So this is the original antenna out of this car. So it's very simple operation. There's a cable that winds the antenna here. It brings it up and down. The problem with this one is the antenna got jammed, and this is heavily pitted. I mean, I probably spent an alarming amount of time on this, trying to clean the bore perfectly enough where the new, because he has a new antenna mast that goes up and down, for it to go in smoothly back and out. It wouldn't. No matter what we did, there's something going on with this piece where it's no longer the right shape, and I tried and tried and tried, and it's just, unfortunately, it is not going to work smoothly and long term. Now, this motor is unfortunately unavailable. You cannot get this stem piece without getting this motor. And we even explored used ones. This was a very rare option for the Tacoma, and it's simply unavailable. So our conversation with the owner was, you have two options: leave it as it is, or we switch you over to a manual antenna, which was available. So this is actually the OEM antenna and post from a Tacoma SR5 that did not have the option of the power one. Unfortunately, it's not going back to exactly the way it is, because that motor, the owner mentioned he was going to do more research, try to find other solutions, because he really wants his automatic antenna. And I understand. You have a truck like this, you want to keep things exactly the way you're. And there's nothing cooler than an antenna that goes up and down every time you turn on the car or the radio. But for now, we have this OEM antenna. Nothing here has been modified. This fits exactly the same way, and it can be reversed to the automatic antenna. It's just a matter of unbolting this one, bolting the other one, and we're good. This mast is actually an OEM mast. It's not some aftermarket one. I told the owner if they wanted and didn't want to deal with this, they can put a short one. It fits. There's actually an option for that as well. That one was a little harder to get, but they can get an aftermarket one if they don't want the whole mast that breaks when you wash the car. I was going to say the car wash. I don't think this car has ever been in an automatic car wash in its life. Just look at the side. I want you to gaze at this side one more time. It looks like a brand new truck. I don't think even a brand new truck with a dealership's car washes look like this, and here it is. Raises my blood pressure every time I see this truck in the shop, because we got to be extremely careful. I mean, for this owner to trust us with their car, we really have to go the extra 10 miles. We normally try to go the extra mile, but in this case, we have to go the extra 10 miles because this is a lot of work on this truck. We have to be really careful. Actually, the truck's completely done. We're just waiting to send it to alignment, which is my least favorite thing in the planet, because at our shop, I can kind of train my guys, make sure we are doing everything 110%, but when it goes out to another shop for an alignment, I can't control that. And I talk to the owners and be like, this is a truck, you cannot leave it out of your sight. Sometimes I call them, is the alignment empty? Can you get me in for alignment? No, I'm not sending you. Well, just bring it, let's park it outside. I'm like, I can't, with this truck, we cannot do that. And that's the thing. So, Jeff, because of your truck, I will say this to you, you are a viewer as well. We actually are adding an alignment machine. I think it is time, and we've already placed a purchase order for one. It'll be some time, probably another month or so until we have it here, we have it set up, but it is time. Because people entrust us with their cars, we gotta make sure that we get things 100% all in-house, including the alignments. We're going through a lot of alignments. You know, we do suspension work, we do a lot of stuff that require an alignment. So we're gonna get an alignment machine, and I'm gonna make sure that that alignment machine stays updated, calibrated, and proper, so we can do proper alignments, take our time, do things all in-house. Folks, once more, huge shout out to Jeff. Leave comments below for Jeff. Wish him well, because he really drives this car a lot, and we ask that he's protected, that he's safe, that this truck stays safe, because he's really put his heart and soul into it, and it shows. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some other videos. Until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.